Well, today I have a very important story to talk about, a story about cancer. And then why I'm bringing this up is in today's world, there's chaos all over the planet, but contributing to that chaos is a global health problem. All around the world, there's a health crisis. One of the leading illnesses on this planet is called cancer. Well, interesting enough, through the evolution of our understanding of genetics and behavior, we came to a belief of something called genetic determinism. And that belief is that genes turn on and off and in the process control the character of our lives. A very simple understanding that is if you believe in genetic determinism, then you recognize a person is actually a victim of their heredity. If there's cancer running in a family, then there's a belief that the gene that causes that cancer will manifest in their lives. And so genetic determinism actually causes us to have a very negative thought that, oh my goodness, I am susceptible to what's running in the family. And then, of course, since we understand the new science of epigenetics versus genetics, the whole story changes. Because when we believe in genetics, determinism meant that genes control the character of your life. But the new science of epigenetics changes the story because epigenetics reveals that consciousness is controlling your life. There is no gene that causes cancer. That's an absolute scientific fact. There's no gene, if you possess it, you will automatically get cancer. So I said, well, we've created a whole world of oncogenes, cancer genes. I go, those are genes that are associated with the cancer, but they're not genes that cause the cancer. To give a very big example that is familiar to a lot of our audience is a reference to the breast cancer gene, which is, in the minds of women, possession of that gene means that cancer is some inevitable part of their future, breast cancer. And then I bring up a very important fact. 50% of the women that have the gene never get the cancer. Well, there's an important conclusion right there that says possession of the gene itself does not cause cancer. It's activated. That gene is activated. The whole idea of what is called self-emergence, meaning genes turn on and off, that's a false belief that we were programmed with. Genes cannot control their activity. It's the environment that controls the activity, and that's the foundation of the science of epigenetics, control above the genes. And consciousness is what interprets that environment and controls our genetics. And if we're not living in health and harmony in the world that we're in, repressed anger, repressed emotions such as fear or sadness, these repressed emotions are like a boiling cauldron in the body. And these emotions are what can engage a gene that's called an oncogene. And so the significance about this is our conventional understanding has been genes cause cancer, which then leads to how do you treat it? And they say, well, then you have to recognize that tumor cells are wayward cells doing what they want, and the only thing you can do to cure the cancer is eliminate the tumor cells. Radiation, surgery, chemotherapy are applied to eliminate the cancer cells. But we have to stop right now for a very important reason. Are the cancer cells the cause, the problem overall? I go, a cancer cell has a genetic disposition to make cancer. And I go, yeah, but does the gene cause the cancer? And the answer is no. It was the consciousness that caused it. So a cancer, when it manifests, is a symptom of consciousness not in harmony. But it's not that people have a conscious desire to get a cancer. Then where is consciousness coming from for that cancer? And the answer is, well, there are actually two minds. There's the conscious creative mind connected to our identity, our source, our spirituality. But there's a subconscious mind, which is a database of programs that we acquire during our life experiences. So the important part is this. I'm not saying that consciousness, meaning I want to have cancer, is what caused the cancer. What I'm saying is it's a subconscious program expressing a disharmony with the character's life in the world in which they're living. Cancer has been around for a long time, and people have been contributing money. Billions and billions of dollars have been contributed to cancer research to resolve the problem. And I go, all of this time, since 1940, when we actually introduced chemotherapy, since that time, we've been using the old techniques to try to cure cancer in spite of all the research. The significance is that the research that we have doesn't support the healing of cancer. Back in the late 60s, when I was doing my experiments on all of this new insight about how environment was controlling the genes, I did not get a lot of support from all of my colleagues because they were still involved with the belief of genetic determinism. But Over time, there's now a newer understanding that is coming forth saying exactly what the research I did revealed, and that is the consciousness of the patient is what is altering epigenetic expression of the cancer. This is a complete paradigm change from looking at genes controlling cancer to recognizing that consciousness is controlling cancer. Science being based on Newtonian physics separated the universe into matter and energy, and the body being matter could only be dealt with by dealing with the physical body. And that's why when cancer research started, they were looking at what physical way they could intervene to stop the cancer, which of course led to the surgery, the radiation, the chemotherapy. But when quantum physics entered the world, it said that the material aspect of our universe is an illusion of energy, that everything is energy. So if we start looking at cancer as a consequence of energy, then if we look at the source of that cancer, we can now go back and say the source of that cancer was energy. The energy that we're specifically talking about influencing cancer is the energy of the brain in consciousness and in subconscious behavior. When we look at the body, it's not a single entity, it's actually a community of 50 trillion cells. Interesting point is the mind is the equivalent of a government that talks to and organizes the functions of those cells. And while we've been blaming the cells for disease, it turns out less than 1% of disease is actually connected to the genetics of the cells. That most of it is from the government, the consciousness that is controlling the 50 trillion cells in your body. So we've misdirected our healing approach because we've been focusing on the cells is where the problem is, but the cells are just responding to the consciousness. So if you want to change cancer, it's not eliminate the cells, but it's to rewrite the consciousness. And all of us can do this. I hope this insight is really helpful. For the reason is this: cancer is increasing in our world today because we're out of harmony with the world as a population. And rather than trying to kill cancer cells, which are the symptom, it's time for us to wake up and realize that to eliminate cancer, we have to go to the source. And the source of the cancer is not the genes. Let's stop going first into the chemotherapy, the radiation, the surgery, and let's start looking at cancer as an energy of dysfunction. And that by energy changing of the consciousness and the belief issues, that is the healing step in cancer. And it's available to all of us. And no surgery, no radiation, no pharmaceutical biochemicals of destruction. It's energy.